I'm going to talk about the book The Winter Ghosts by Kate Moss. Hello everyone, my name is Harmony. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. On this channel, I talk about books, book reviews, and any other reading related things I think of. Today I'm going to do a book review of The Winter Ghosts by Kate Moss. This is a book that I've recently finished. Originally it was in a novella or short story form, but I'm very glad that the author wrote it fully into a more extended novel because I like it like that. I know some people didn't really enjoy the book. I thought it was great. So I thought, well, I'll make this video and give it some positive review. Feel free to click on the timestamps, by the way. I'm going to leave one for the overview of the book and I'll leave one for the thoughts that I have on it later on. So the overview of the story then, it takes place over an afternoon in France in 1933. So the main character is talking to the owner of a bookshop who is also a very scholarly man and is renowned for doing a lot of translations, especially from the old local language. So he goes to visit the man and has him translate a letter that he found a few years previously. Before translating that letter, the scholar wants to know how the letter came to be in the man's possession. It's a very interesting style of writing because the first chapter is written in third person and then most of the rest of the book is written in the first person, but as if the reader is this scholar guy that the main character is talking to, recounting the memory to. And in the last chapter, the author goes back to writing in the third person and back to the conversation between the main character and the scholar. And he then gets the letter translated and off he goes. So the premise of the book is the main character lost his brother in the First World War and was never really able to grieve and get over like his brother getting killed and not being able to be buried because there was nothing left of his physical body to bury. And he had had mental breakdown somewhere between the end of the First World War and 1928, which is the year that he went to France and did a bit of travelling around and wasn't really caring very much where he went. He had a destination in mind because he wanted to go visit some friends, but then the weather got bad and he skidded off the road and crashed his car. After that accident, he goes to a nearby boarding house and stays there, and as a result is invited to this celebration where they are honouring the people that have passed on, ancestors or those that have more recently gone, kind of thing, and celebrating their lives and remembering them and so on. So he's invited to that by the owner of the boarding house, and he's like, yeah, go on then, I'll go along. And he meets this girl when he goes to this celebration. It essentially spends the whole evening with her and he learns about the history of the area and what happened to the girl and her family or the others in the village and surrounding villages. And he gets struck with fever and ends up back in his room and doesn't know how he got there. And it takes him a while to recover from the fever, but while he's recovering from that, thinking that he's fully better, he goes with the people that are going to get his car towed and take it to get fixed. While there, he says, right, I'll wait with the car, you guys go and get the tow truck and bring it back. So he waits till they've gone and then he really wants to know what happened to this girl and to her especially, because during the evening that he spent with her, he only heard part of the story he had also heard of rumors of phantom and ghosts and that kind of thing. And he himself had heard voices that came from the surrounding area. So off he goes to investigate that. And he follows, according to this girl's description, the way into the mountain and into the system of caves, and finds that, as she had said, girl and her family and many others were all sealed in, and none of them came out. So of course they all perished in the mountain, in the caves. And at that point, partly through the conversation that he'd had at the celebration, and partly after finding these remains, he was then able to grieve and put a close on that chapter for his brother and everyone else that had been lost. Because it's cold and damp and he still had the fever, he falls unconscious and is taken to the hospital and works on recovering and all that lot. And essentially, once he's done seeing his friends, he goes back to England and is a changed person, really. He gets himself a job eventually and does various things. And because of his exploration, the village is almost turned into a tourist attraction of sorts. Yeah, then we'll go back into the main conversation as part of that. The letter is translated and turns out that the letter itself was from the last person to perish in the mountain, which was actually the girl that the main character spent the evening with at the celebration. The letter was not written to anybody in particular, but whoever might read it. My own thoughts on the story is that I think there's not that much of an element of mystery to it, really. I quite like the style of writing in terms of the back and forth between the present day and the memories and whatever, because it doesn't jump around too much, but also, as I said, in a large portion of the book, it's as if the reader is the scholar. I had some thoughts actually around the whole experience that the main character remembers of going to this celebration. So he's invited and he goes along, as I say, and he specifically remembers all the people that he had dinner with and met and spent time with, but none of the present day people, the 1928 people, remember seeing him at that celebration. And he says to them, oh, it was a really good bit of acting, a bit too realistic, effectively. And it was like, what? They're like, what are you talking about? Because there was no acting, no like reenacted battle or anything. And yeah, there was. And everyone thought it was real. And they're like, no, like nothing happened. So at that point, I thought that it had been something of like a time slip phenomenon where you take a trip back into time and you have the experiences and you may or may not interact with those from the past and they may or may not interact with you and so on, but you essentially take a journey back and do the do the thing, have the experience, then come back, and really no time in the present has gone by, although there are the occasional exceptions that I can think of where the whole thing has happened, as in this fictional account. The whole thing has happened overnight. So, it's the next morning by the time that the experience ends. The issue that I have with that theory, though, is that if that was the case, there would surely be some evidence, like, I don't know, the boots would be all wet or muddy, or the coat would be snowed on or something. But actually, according to the owner of the boarding house, the coat is where she herself had left it, and the boots are completely untouched under the table, it's dry as anything. And so yeah, I don't really know what to make of that. But the whole concept of the Winter Ghosts, where the main character hears the voices of those that have been those that have perished in the mountain, and those voices, or what some people term as phantoms, are normally only heard in the winter months, because it was the winter when, several hundred years earlier, the people had been forced to hide in the mountains by the events that happened in the village. Now, I can see why the particular village that was used in the story was a fictional village, a fictitious one rather, because it was one of those where presumably the author wanted to write about some things that had really happened somewhere similar, but also wanted to turn it into a story. And I don't know, apparently some people consider it easier to write using a fictional place, but draw on the real events of history in other fairly local areas. So yeah, also another thing that I like about this story is it's not overdone, but I still love the descriptions of the landscapes, and you can really imagine yourself being there, like in the winter time, walking through the forest and being in the house with the nice warm fire on and all that. That is an amazing amazing thing that the author does. So yeah, overall a great book, and would highly recommend it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to take a look at my other book reviews in this playlist, or otherwise feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and I will see you all in the next video.